I wake up in the morning to see Ellis just like depression tweets like, there's no way we should lose here. And then the following tweet, I'm like, I know it's coming.
Yeah, no, I follow Nemesis's tweets where he's like, oh, he's going to do it again. And then it's just like, yep, he did it again.
All right. I'm glad we've got a bunch of pre-recorded enjoyers because we've got ourselves one hell of a pre-recorded episode for you. It is Facecheck episode 24, season 3, week number 5. And like it says in the text box that's about to appear right now, the matches were good. The off-season drama moves were better. Sorry, I don't know. I was hitting the crack pipe a little too hard. The reality show that is the LCS is, again, just going crazy here. We have roster moves. We had an executive switching from one team to the next. We've got another benching. This one, it feels like contract hell for Solo. Solo cannot find himself a team to stay on, although he comes in and gets Golden Guardians almost double the wins that they had within, like, you know, a third of the season. Guys, it's week 5, and it's all this craziness that normally happens in the off season, all in one. How does that make you feel, Dom?
Oh, I love it. I love just waking up every single day and getting a new roster change. But now, like, all the roster changes just make like no sense at all. So I think that's the best part. I mean, like, half of them make sense. Like the FlyQuest thing kind of makes sense, and then you hear that like Solo's kicked off Golden Guardians when the team is like 50 times better with him, and Licorice has just been completely the bed in FlyQuest. That is like, yeah, okay, I guess we're back to not making sense again.
Yeah, crazy stuff there. LS, what was the move, or I guess the thing that happened this week that caught your eye the most out of
I mean, I thought I quote retweeted the FlyQuest thing, or no, I didn't quote retweet. Did I quote retweet? I tweeted the two images, right? Of Licorice saying, you know, positive stuff about his team, and then you know, a week later everything's just gone. Now, one of the things that I thought to include in that tweet, but I didn't, is that actually the general manager replies below Licorice's tweet.
Nick Fan.
So,
that's dGon's boy right there.
So either this is one of those, you know, this is one of those Chick-fil-A type moments or something, but you know, it you know, was it really a spur of the moment decision? One would have to wonder. So I'm not totally sure. I watched Licorice's pro view. I think the most out of any top laner. He's been on the.
Yeah, you flame that guy, man.
Dude, well, I mean, I'm not flaming. Like,
okay, not
dude,
flaming,
his pro view is something else. Like, it's really weird. He has no idea what he's doing with his wave at any point. He doesn't look out. This is the highlight. I think it's on my highlights channel. There's one on my main channel. There's one on my highlight channel. He doesn't look at fights as he's moving towards them. Like, you have to make it up. It's like it's make believe. Like, there's a Baron fight, or there's a fight in front of Herald, or there's a fight in front of Baron, and he's moving towards it, and he's just lock cam as he's moving. Yeah. It is the weirdest thing in the world. But anyways, yeah, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And then Niles tweeted that he's still on Academy, and then Solo tweeted, you know, that he's still trying to be a player. And this whole thing just is such a mess. And then you have things like CLG, right, where Broxa makes this tweet that they don't know what's going on. They're obviously coming with pre-planned forced drafts. I don't even. It's like the Breakfast Club. CLG are like the Breakfast Club of CLG or of LCS. It's so. It's something else. And then I don't know. One of the things that I've gotten really frustrated about, right, is that if you keep pointing out that these things are happening, right, and it's really you're narrating what's happening, you're commenting like this isn't good, this is very bad, etc. You get lots of people that are just labeling it as negative, or saying that people like me or Dom or Doublelift, etc., are like very negative and all this other stuff. But then you ask those people, what is the alternative? What is the alternative to stating what's happening, stating that the level of play is subpar, stating that there are inadequacies that are present within the league? There's no fucking alternative. The alternative is to lie.
Yeah, or you just say like all the positive things that the other player is doing. It's like, look at whoever it is, Huni mind controlling Licorice here to push his wave in, so now he's able to get a freeze. 5 head.
Yeah, 5 head. That is.
Wait, hold on. I'm gonna pop a blood vessel in my brain. Neos_2788. The way you speak matters just as much as what you're saying. No, it fucking doesn't. That's called tone policing, and research it. Holy
Tone
shit.
policing.
It is. It's called tone policing. When people try to say that the manner in which you're saying something has any impact on the subject matter of what you're saying, it doesn't.
But it makes me feel bad. It makes me feel bad.
I disagree with that. Yeah, I think there's a way that you say things, but I mean,
I understand.
I think someone
can
those are
receive
two
it,
different.
or they can be less receptive, but it doesn't actually mean that what you're saying is less wrong or more true.
Correct. That I agree with.
Right.
That's
why it's tone policing.
I mean, I think the weirdest part about this whole weird thing about the Golden Guardians thing, and the worst part of it for me is it makes Solo look really fucking bad. Like, it makes Solo look horrible that he came in, made the team so much better, and then he's getting replaced by somebody who's probably the worst top laner in LCS right now. I think that it's really, like, you're hard pressed to look at all the LCS top laners and find one that has performed worse than Licorice the Split. So, I mean, you see this thing with Solo, and people always, like, his teammates will always say, oh, he's helped us improve a lot. Like, his attitude's really good. He's nothing like he is in solo queue. But if that's the case, then why does he keep on getting removed from team after team after team when he's putting together pretty decent performances?
Yeah. And I had the opportunity to interview him after, I think, their last match. It's up on VENN Esports. Thankfully, I got it up, I think, the day before they made the announcement of the trades and stuff. He's like, yeah, you know, I had to straight up ask him. I was like, hey, you've been removed multiple times. Like, what are you learning from this? And he's like, yeah, it's learning, you know, when to go in hard and give him the feedback there, or when to, you know, kind of like be the teammate that they can sulk on and, you know, grow that way. And it felt like, because I asked, like, how's the environment? It's, you know, you have more wins than you had before, but you're still losing a lot. And he's like, the environment seems well. And when asked about it, he's like, yeah, this was a surprise to me. I didn't ask for a reason why. They just kind of told me this move was happening. And so, and also the fact that both these teams, right, FlyQuest and Golden Guardians, are one game out of playoffs outside of Counter Logic Gaming. Like, the fact that they are, like, so desperate to make a change, they'll make change with each other that are still battling against each other. A lot of the times you see bottom teams trading with the top team to be like, hey, give me your academy top laner so we can give them reps and whatever. That's not the case here, where it's like two teams that are like, yeah, we gotta get rid of this Solo guy, and Licorice isn't happy here. Plus, Golden Guardians rewards Licorice with a 3-year contract. I mean, and how much that is guaranteed, we don't know, but it just, there's so much to unpack in this move between these two teams and what it means for everybody else. And now Kumo gets the starting spot over at FlyQuest. There's a lot there that, yes, I know it's not like, hey, this isn't a lot of winning, but there's a lot of positioning between organizations that normally doesn't happen that I find fascinating. So, again, so FlyQuest, Golden Guardians make the move with each other. Let's focus now on FlyQuest, specifically flipping their whole academy roster into LCS, and all 4 guys left from the LCS moving back on down. Diamond's pretty lucky, right? Diamond got benched earlier, and so now in comes Diamond once again, and there it is, sad boy Jose. He's come on across. There was a great tweet chain by, I believe, it was Amazing, where it's like, yep, destroys his region, goes to Worlds, comes to the second place team that also went to Worlds, and then finds terrible success, can't find any teammates to rely on. His best teammate gets traded away, and then he gets benched. This has been a difficult run for Jose Dioto, but also, what does this move mean to you, Dom, here?
I mean, it's strange to me because I don't think that, like, FlyQuest, like, so I guess the idea is this, right? Like, FlyQuest as a team in Academy has been performing pretty well. I'm pretty sure last time I checked, they were like 2nd in the standings. Academy, LOL standing. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're still like top 3 in the standings, right? Okay, they're 2nd right now as well. So they've been doing really well in Academy, and I guess the whole idea is like, just, okay, whatever they've been doing in Academy works. Like, we don't want to try to, like, mess up any of the synergy or the pre-existing, like, systems that they have within that team. So we're going to just do a full-on swap. But I just think it's really weird that they have a player like Jose Dioto, who, I don't think Jose Dioto is, like, the smartest player, like, ever or anything. Like, I don't think that he makes great, intelligent decisions all the time. But I think that in terms of, like, individual skill level and, like, mechanical ability, I think he's one of the better junglers we have in LCS, and it seems weird that they're not even like trying to integrate him into that team at all. Like, I don't think that NXI has showed me anything that's made me think that he could be a better jungler than Jose Dioto, and I feel like, I don't know, I would like to see Jose Dioto still be able to like have some ability to compete in LCS, because I feel like whenever they got leads, it was always off like plays that he was making. So why not try to integrate him into that team to try to make the best team possible? I know that they did like the half roster swap before. Not really sure how I felt about that, but I don't know. To me, it just seems like, honestly, a failure of coaching staff. I don't think that there's a possible way that you could coach a team well that has those 5 players on it and get such a terrible result. Like in LCS with the current level, like we're not dealing with something where you have to be a top team in another region in order to compete in LCS. Like teams like Immortals that have objectively less talent, or like I guess you could say subjectively, but in my eyes, less talent on their roster. Like, how does a team like that outperform you this heavily in summer? It doesn't make sense.
I think for the tweet reference saying that Jose Dioto went to Worlds and like all this other stuff, and then he gets imported. I mean, this is sort of like I don't know what the term is for it, but Amazing likes to use a lot of things that Amazing likes to tweet a lot of things that don't really have substance, or they can be broken down like really faulty evaluation, as well as like faulty praise methods, right? I mean, Jose Dioto goes to Worlds off the back of best of 5 wins and a best of 5 that also went to 4 games. You know, in a wild card region. Like they went 3-2 in round 1, then they go 3-1, then they go 3-2 versus All Knights in the final. So yeah, sure, he goes to Worlds. I think the context surrounding this really matters. Now at Worlds, he did really well on the Super Server, and he was one of the shining stars on his team at Worlds. But again, context is really important because you have to actually look at the games, but the games is a low sample size in itself. So that's just like random fluff. Now, I agree that he's one of the better players on the team. ProView is really fucking good this split. It's really valuable because you get a lot of insight into what the person's doing. You get to see their mechanics in person. You get to see what they're looking at. Now, obviously, you don't have access to comms and stuff like that, but I wholeheartedly agree with Dom. I don't think it's that hard in regions where there are a lot of bottom tier teams, or it's very top heavy. That's the best way to put it.
Sure.
In regions that are extremely top heavy, it shouldn't be that hard when you have arguably relatively similar talent pools or skill level on the teams to not actually edge out things, or at least, you know, greater than what they're currently showing. So I think in that regard, yeah, FlyQuest. It's obviously it's a disaster, and then obviously the way that this whole licorice thing was just handled, it's also equally a disaster. So pretty rough.
Yeah, I don't know.
When it comes to the messaging of this one, right? Because this is one of the few times where they're like, "Hey, our academy team is doing better than our LCS team. They are in second place. Is this something that I can, you know, that we can appropriately say they're rewarding the academy team?" Does this one make more sense? Because I know that was a big talking point earlier, Dom.
Yeah, I mean, I like it makes sense, but at the same time, it's like I would like to hear what's happening with the coaching staff as well. Like, are they going to keep the same academy coach and have the person that has been coaching the main team still coaching? No, I'm not joking at all.
I know. That's a good thought. I haven't really thought of that. I'm looking. Okay. Who is their academy coach right now?
Well, to me, it just doesn't make sense. It's like if the whole team has been working with that same environment with the same coach, like I hope that they're not just going to like only swap like roster and then have the LCS coaching staff now coaching the roster, because I feel like as a whole that whole environment has failed. If you want to swap the whole environment, swap the whole environment. Don't just do like don't just do like we're gonna put them with like a different coach that might have different ways of seeing things, or might try to coach in a different way, or have a different system, like all that type of stuff. I think is really like necessary to know. I think that's the most important part to me, is like, I hope that if they are giving the whole academy team a shot, they're giving the whole academy team, the coaching staff, everyone that was contributing to that environment, that like had that successful academy, like, that was able to contribute to that successful academy result this split. I want to see all those people working with the team still.
Yeah, the academy head coach is Fantix, who is Osh player, retired back in 2017. Was with Dire Wolves and Curse Oceania before bouncing around with the Chiefs, Mammoth, and then was at 100 Thieves before landing the head coaching academy role over with FlyQuest Academy. So that's an interesting point compared to the coaching staff that came from Europe that is currently coaching FlyQuest. I believe that's Kanavi and Sharks. So yeah, probably a good point there for in terms of drafts and day-to-day running of the team itself. But we'll see what FlyQuest ends up deciding on. Give me the rundown closing thoughts on FlyQuest roster swap.
I mean, FlyQuest, we're almost going to be done with summer split, right? And this has been, I think that summer 2021 will go down in history as the most highlighting and revealing split historically ever of wait, why is it saying muted? Oh, okay. I think that summer 2021 will go down in LCS as historically the worst split ever, but also the most revealing at the amount of incompetence that goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, just from my conversations with people in the space and some of the decision makers, it does feel like there's a shift happening and there's a lot of spotlights being shown on people.
One of the things that I do want to say is, I tweeted this too in response to the fly, or I tweeted a response to Crumbs. You might have seen it on Twitter. Let me just read. I mean, it's very short. Crumbs said LCS orgs need to step up their PR with these kinds of moves. They don't inspire confidence from the outside with no transparency. Half the moves of the split look like the side grades at best, self-sabotaging at worst. I replied to Crumbs, it doesn't matter when they just lie. Now, my comment stems from the obviousness that people speak behind the scenes. No roster move that has happened in the last 7 or 8 months has had an honest public statement. Not one. So I can sit here and say this, and no one's gonna say otherwise, like publicly, right? Because it's just fucking true. Players talk, everyone talks. You, like me and Dom, know, probably what's going on before it goes public. We know what's actually happening.
Yeah.
So every single move is a lie publicly. Unless that changes, you're just going to constantly have nepotism, you're going to have cycling, and the problem is that it's in the orgs and the players' best interests to have new people pick up the people who are being moved around and finding places on new teams, because then their PR ends up settling and it ends up fucking, people just start forgetting about it. The only reason that it's drawn so much attention now is the frequency that it's happening in North America, as well as clearly how bad some of the PR statements have been. But regardless of if they're bad or not, it's not going to mean anything when they're lying and people behind the scenes know that they lie. Because what these orgs don't realize is that everyone behind the scenes fucking talks. And while there is going to be non-disparagement clauses inside of contracts or NDAs or these other types of things that'll keep things nice and peachy and shiny forward-facing, everyone behind the scenes knows what's actually going on. So you're growing mold is all that's happening. And I think they don't realize that. I think they think that they're playing like fucking 4D chess and they're not even managing to play tic-tac-toe. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this right now, what we're seeing is like people keep on trying to make excuses for why the league is dying or like why people are viewing less. We are literally watching the implosion of LCS. And every week we're seeing something else happen that detracts from viewership numbers. You think that FlyQuest has any fans? Do they have any fans? Because to me, I see Jose Dioto fans. I see them even catering towards that with them doing like a Spanish-speaking co-stream, but I see no FlyQuest fans. So if they now bench Jose Dioto, how many people give a fuck about FlyQuest now compared to before? TL without Alfari, C9 without Sven, all these teams are benching the players that have the most, like, who wants to watch Dignitas without Dardoch? Like, all the players that have the most pull that people are most excited to watch are getting benched one by one. And this is the reason why you see a viewership loss, is because, like, the new players don't even look better in the game. So it's not like you get to see like you don't have Cream coming in to OMG in LCS. You don't have this 17-year-old hyped up rookie. No, you get like a 22-year-old that's been playing in Academy for like 4 or 5 years. And it's like, oh, great, nice. Now we get to see this guy that's been playing in amateur in Academy for 6-7 years play. Oh, well, he looks mediocre. And then they always look mediocre. And then you replace them back with the starter eventually. Like, it's so annoying to watch as a viewer, because the best players don't even play anymore. And I feel like it's now the opposite of it, where like people before were like, oh, there's too many veterans, there's too many old players. And like the orgs are like, okay, well, we need more rookie talent. It's like, what about these rookies? Like, those are not rookies. Those were literally just like, those are bad veterans. That's what those are. Those are Academy lifetime veterans. Those are the people that are playing now.
So, I mean, here's a very, very, very good example that happened in LCK. Everyone watched DRX for Chovy. Right? Everyone just watched DRX games. It's why you would tune in. The only reason to tune into Hanwha Life games is Chovy. That's it. I mean, it's the same for so many teams in different leagues. Teams don't seem to have players. The only ones that do are the ones that seemingly had like monopolies on the league, right? At some point, right? You have Fnatic G2. I mean, you have some European teams that are gaining fans for sure because they've been winning.
Rogue.
Right. Mad Lions and Rogue are gaining fans, but I don't think anyone would say it's even remotely close to Fnatic or G2. In North America, you have Cloud9, Team Liquid, and you have TSM. In Korea, you only actually had T1. Like, it's really weird. Even though Gen G performs so well all the time, it sort of feels like, I mean, now people are more aware of Gen G because of Nemesis. And like the LCK co-streams and stuff, right? But prior to that, so a lot of people in chat right now are citing Dom1. There's an infographic, I don't have it on hand, that actually shows the user like impressions on Dom1's socials and their streams pre-Worlds Win and post-Worlds Win, and there's no bump on the radar.
Well, I mean,
which is insane when you consider how good they are.
From the outside, like, T1 games will always just get more viewership. Like Dom1 Gen G, that should be the most hyped matchup right now in LCK, right? Dom1 Gen G is essentially your, like, the LCK version of TSM C9 or whatever. Like that should be the top 2 teams in the region. That should be FPX RNG. There's less viewers on that than like T1 playing whoever. It is what it is.
And in chat, a couple people just wrote, pre-recorded, of course. What about Samsung Galaxy, KT, Rocks Tigers, Griffin? Those teams,
who cares, man?
They're gone. They're gone.
No,
like
no.
those,
I mean,
the era of those teams.
Players,
no.
They stream.
The era of those teams are gone.
Dude,
sure.
Crown. So where's all the fucking Crown defenders? Crown is I think he's D3 right now. I think he's D3, 700 games.
He's retired, man. Please let him live.
Yeah, but he's been playing throughout and throughout. Like, and Crown streams to like 100 viewers.
He's playing for content copium.
The only I mean, Cube's been blowing up a little bit lately. Ambition streams really well. Imp has you know about Imp's like borderline, you know, SI being suicidal ideation, like live stream that happened in China. This was like a long time ago where he had a mental breakdown. He talked about viewership dying, and he talked about the old days, and he talked about no fan retention.
Worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean,
there
was
all that stuff.
nothing.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, I remember that.
It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. Dandy, God knows what he does. Dade like plays, you know, 4K games a season, and he's like D2, D3. I mean, you can keep going. Looper's like D1. I'm trying to think of like other players that play.
I mean, honestly, dude, just bring all those players to LCS. Give them another shot. Just throw them all on the same team.
Yeah.
D1, D2. That's about the same level as what we're getting in LCS right now. So just literally just some team needs to just chill out. Like, I mean, look, we see some teams that look like they're willing to spend money. Like maybe CLG dumps this roster, gets old Samsung White, brings them all back, and goes 8th place in LCS. That's gonna save the region.
Yeah, and we rerun all those clips from their glory days, from their respective LCK/OGN champions glory days, and everyone thinks of the potential that they might have. I think that's a solid plan there, Dom.
I got a treat for you. Hold on.
Oh no.
Are you gonna show me an OP or wait? What is it?
No, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you something real good. No, I don't think I can show that. I don't think people are supposed to know about this.
Yeah, exclusive.
Hold on.
Here it comes, everybody. Or are we just putting it on Discord that only we can see because, we know, but we can't tell.
Oh my God. Wait, nah, he didn't show anything yet.
Why? No, hold on. I have like auto black mode. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, how do I get a photo of
Wait,
this?
what happens if this is... Wait, you guys remember Thorin's tweet? Thorin, so many liars. Wait, what was the tweet? Maybe this is actually Thorin's reckoning. Hold on.
How do I get a
There's so much bullshit. There's so much bullshit and so many liars in the League of Legends scene. Unlucky for them, I am their reckoning. Everybody loses in war, but you lose more. Understand that's the motto every time you come at me. Is that just what's happening? Is this Thorin's reckoning right now? 2021 summer?
Yeah,
he's just pulling all the strings from behind the scenes.
I'm not gonna lie. Thor and I, we have a working relationship now, and he's always been kind to me. But when I was at Golden Guardians, when things were going bad, Thorn was sniffing around. I was like, I'm sorry, dude, I cannot give you an interview right now. I was like, I know what's gonna happen. I used to feast on this stuff, and now I'm like, I can't do this. That was pretty funny.
I'll just post it in Discord. I can't get a good screenshot.
Okay. Is this just for us, or should we have Joe whip it up?
So Riot gifted account start at level 30, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Riot gifted account start at level 30. This account is level 62. This account is level 62, okay? Riot gifted account. His peak LP that he achieved on Korea was Diamond 1, 34 LP. He is one of the starting LCS mid laners.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Listen, I'm LFT, by the way, in case...
Yeah, true.
I also see the...
You need anyone playing NASA support? You got your man right here.
LFT, right. No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, chat.
Wait, did you say who this was? Wait, who was this?
No, look. Context clues. Context clues.
Ready?
Yeah, I mean, I think it.
You're gonna love it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that seems right.
That's the building block piece. Yeah, we can't post that one because it gives it away. The logo of this person gives it away. All right. Okay, so I think that is most of the juicy drama. We did touch on CLG's future plan if Dom was the GM, but they actually have more than just a GM now. Greg Kim, this was my first breaking release. I was very proud of it. I caught this one about 2 weeks ago, and then went to Madison Square Garden and was like, hey, this is happening. Please, let's work together on something. So Greg Kim leaving Evil Geniuses in the middle of the split too, as his post as head of esports for Evil Geniuses to become the new head of CLG, which is now put him on the level of a Reggie, of a Jack, of a Steve. I'm trying to think who else is on that level. I guess Hunter for Golden Guardians, and so he's going to be overseeing all of CLG now, and that's a big swap for him, as he in the interview just discussed like, hey, that I worked with the teams on the competitive side, but wanted to take a step up. But the CEO over at Evil Geniuses is
wait, so
Nicole
he worked with the teams.
Lapointe.
Does he have is he qualified for this position?
He's qualified for this position because this isn't necessarily hands-on. This isn't hands-on. This is decision-making on who's going to be hands-on. So he's coming in and now has all the decision-making of CLG. So the business side of things, the infrastructure, the amateur stuff. So I would say a lot of what you see from Evil Geniuses is and that is attributed to him, is the infrastructure that they made, which I think one of the biggest things that you can think of from Evil Geniuses is their academy and amateur pipeline, Jojo Pune waiting room. And obviously, Danny was a great pickup. It was a great find. It's great.
Wait, he's the one that was responsible for that? It wasn't Peter Dunn?
Yeah, because he's the one that hired Peter. He's the one that hired Peter and brought him over. Like that, those were his calls.
Okay.
And his decision making. And so I think he didn't tell me this, but when I look at it, you bring in Peter Dunn, who then also has like kind of like the hands-on mentality of the team, and then I think he starts losing a lot of what his say is, right, on what it is. And I think he realized that. And when you have an opportunity to go to an organization like Madison Square Garden and have a team backing compared to Evil Geniuses that was higher, like, what is it? They're funded, right, by like investors. I think that's a little bit more power that you have over at CLG and his growth. So, yes, go ahead. Thoughts?
I don't care about this at all. Like, just show me. Like, I guess we can see what he does, but I literally couldn't give less of a fuck about whoever this guy is moving like to CLG. Like, it just doesn't matter to me at all. It's like let's see what happens. Like, maybe he does something. I won't know if he does. Like, that's how I feel.
The way that I look at it is like this. So it was Hotshot, right? Hotshot was like obviously the godfather of CLG, and then after that, I think it was Nick Allen, and then after that, it's been, I might be skipping someone, but I think it's Dan Fleeter, who no one knew. I don't
know any of these people. Like, I know Nick Allen.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a big gap after Nick Allen and then Dan Fleeter. And then it was like, this is a Madison Square Garden guy. And now Greg Kim, who came from Riot, helped build Evil Geniuses, now getting the opportunity to make his stamp on CLG for now. LS, you're part of the org for a little bit as a content creator. Obviously, you don't want to cross too many lines. Good. What are you thinking?
Trying to think if I have an NDA. I was definitely involved in conversations that my job level should not have been a part of prior to me joining T1. And a lot of those conversations were centered around me trying to make the board acknowledge non-specialists hiring specialists is a very bad idea, and it will never work because it can't work. So you're ultimately gambling. Actually, you're doing worse than gambling. The reason that you're doing worse than gambling is because most things within the scene are done via conjecture. Or they're done via public-private information. What I mean by public-private information doesn't mean first-hand testimonials based on people who have worked with that person. The problem with that is that because of non-disparagement agreements and NDAs from other teams, and also because no one is incentivized to shit-talk their previous player or coach, because it could end up coming back on them later down the line or in the future, unless they think that person is irredeemable, then what ends up happening is you get a lot of cycling around and you get a lot of stuff that you can't really gauge anything on, which is the same way why, you could cite many examples where, people would realize that their logic is extremely faulty and that it doesn't hold up both ways. I'll use CV Max as an example. So CV Max was touted as arguably, a lot of people considered him to be the best coach in Korea because of the stuff that was done with Griffin, rising up from Challenger Series. He had Chovy, he had Viper, Lehens, Tarzan, and then obviously Sword. He made the Worlds run. He made several finals runs. He just never could really do it. Now we're seeing DRX without any star-studded power, right? We saw DRX with Chovy and Deft and Keria still there, and they managed to make Worlds again, right? But now we're seeing DRX literally incapable of doing anything. And also, the way that DRX used to play is not the way that DRX does play now, which means that intent isn't actually present in the gameplay. Translated VOD reviews of stuff that he's done actually publicly on Twitch TV leaves much to be desired. So again, this is an example about how if you were to remove this split from, DRX's record, remove it totally from history, most people in the scene would be, jumping at the
clamoring
chance
to go and give him a hire.
But the reality is that no one actually fucking knows anything, and that's part of the problem.
Right. And this is something that we've hit multiple times on this show, where you're like, hey, like if someone doesn't know what good is, how are they going to make a decision on how to hire?
Sure. Right. So the thing is that, I mean, this is almost an entire talk show thingy in itself. I think that this topic, because I think that this is basically this is like looking at the very entrance to a forest and not being able to go to the top and seeing the entire reach of it, right? So this is like the forest for the trees. And a lot of people, I think, feel almost attacked when these things are like brought up, when it comes about hiring processes, evaluation, and basically the whole way that stuff is done in the scene. Now, interestingly enough, when the scene was flourishing in most cases, there was actually a lot more player power. This is something that's observable, right? If you go back in time enough, players had a lot more sway on things that joined. It actually only got progressively worse when power dynamics were introduced into teams, as well as hierarchies, as well as star players carrying a lot more leverage due to the nature of contracts and what that would mean for sponsorships, as well as the boards looking silly in the event that, you know, something would really go wrong with giant acquisitions. There's a lot of stuff going on, but yeah, non-specialists shouldn't be hiring specialists.
All right.
Because there's actually factually no way for them to know. There's literally no way for them to know. And first-hand testimonials have been shown to be a faulty method, as well as basing things off of conjecture or using results-based analysis to perpetuate your claims that someone is actually verifiably good. Because while pro views and other metrics can be used to demonstrate that that's obviously false.
Well, there you have it. Thank you for your take there on I guess the new head of CLG coming on in, and I guess I'm
not saying that's the case with this guy.
Right. I was about to fix it. And the concept of possibly the pitfalls of hiring without understanding, you know, the game at a high enough level, right? And it's such a difficult role, I think, to be the mouthpiece to the board, as you said, the board of investors that are like, we want to go to Worlds. We also don't want to spend $10 million. And then the gameplay experts that are the ones that are, you know, executing that plan. All right, so that was most of the hot, spicy stuff that was happening this week. I don't think we missed anything there. Chat, let us know. Let's turn our focus to a couple of the matches that happened this week. The big one that happened, it was on Sunday. It was the showdown of TSM and Cloud9. A victory on the side of TSM. They come up taking the big win there. Now a 2-game lead ahead of Cloud9. Fudge then takes over to Twitter, basically says, hey, you know, yeah, you beat us, but we're all not that good. We weren't all that good. What did you make of this big matchup that happened on Sunday there, Dom?
I mean, we didn't really get to see the game, right? Like, Vulcan just ran it down level 1, and they got denied 3 waves at level 1 as well. It was like 0 CS to like 25 CS bot lane. So for me, like, there's these matchups, it's really hard to take anything away from it. And even like this is the weird spot for me. Like, maybe I'm just a TSM hater, right? Like, I'll just say that out the back. Like, maybe I am just a TSM hater. But to me, even though TSM won, for some reason, they look even worse to me than Cloud9, because Cloud9 like ended the whole game level 1, and the game still went to 40 minutes or something. Like, how is a game that starts like this not over in like 22 to 25 minutes? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So for me, like, I didn't learn anything about Cloud9. I doubt that they're just gonna like int the game level 1 every single time. Maybe they have maybe if they do this a bunch of times, they have a really exploitable level 1 that you're able to like get significant advantages of like repeatedly, and that could be something that teams look to do in the future. I have no idea, right? To me, this just looked like Vulcan had a random int moment. He wasn't expecting the late invade, and then on top of that, I actually believe that this dive was potentially like they could have potentially fought it, because Fudge was cheater recalling when they were going for the dive, and I think that if both top laners TP down and it's a 4v3 in that situation, I'm not sure if TSM can dive it. I would assume that they wouldn't even try to dive it, knowing NA teams. Like, it doesn't seem like NA teams really go for 4v3 dives. And also, if both top laners do TP down and Fudge's wave is crashing, then it's obviously good for Fudge, because then Hoonie's missing like the entire wave under turret. So I kind of wanted to see C9 respond to that situation better, like force the enemy team to dive through exhaust with full life and Fudge's TP. And see what happens instead of backing up and giving 4 waves. But yeah, for me, I like I just feel like no team in LCS is really good at ending the game when they have advantages. I saw the same problem with 100 Thieves. And I'd say, like, right now, based off what we've seen in summer, TSM and 100 Thieves theoretically are our two best teams, but neither of them know how to end the game when they have massive leads, which I think is really, really concerning. Because there are times in these games where if the enemy team plays better, like if TL played better versus 100 Thieves in like a mid-game team fight, TL can just win that game. If C9 played better around one of the Dragon Souls this game, they could win this game. And that's really scary when the game comes down to like a flip on a fight, like a fight that, you know, you potentially being able to get fought when you have like a massive lead. Like the game should never come down to that. You should be able to, in most cases, especially with these types of drafts, you should be able to snowball the game in a way where the enemy team doesn't have a good response.
Nick?
My stance on the TSM game. So I mean, I immediately after the game, so that there's apparent things within the team composition that are counterintuitive to one another. For instance, Victor's winning versus all Cloud9 champions. If the game goes long enough, the nature of it, right? I think that Azir is very off theme with other champions inside of the team composition. It seems really weird. I think there's rune issue there. I think that Gwen B1 is worse than Viego B1, but they opt into Gwen, which I thought was pretty weird because she's very defining. And I think that Gwen's better as like a response. I thought Sven and Perks played a lot of fights really poorly. I think Fudge made like a really donkey teleport bot lane. It was the one where they kill Spica. That was not a good teleport. And he shouldn't have ended up actually doing that whatsoever, because it throws stuff off, even though I think there's a lot of people that probably think that looks really good that they don't have the foresight of how everything would unfold if the TP doesn't happen and if everything continues on as normal. But yeah, I mean, the match was pretty weird. It went really long. I'm not going to say Cloud9 couldn't have won the game. I think that they are at a disadvantage in the game, but there were team fights where they were in an advantageous position. And I think that Perks and Sven both sort of failed in some of the key moments. But I think that leading up to that, Vulcan was obviously pretty problematic in the game initially. And then, I mean, you have random stuff going on as well. So that was my thoughts on that. I mean, we'll see how it rebattles. I completely concur with Dom on the idea that most top teams don't know how to end. I mean, I thought the 100 Thieves game was a disaster. And from that standpoint that they had played earlier on in the week, I remember Papa Smithy even replied to me, and I found his reply to my reply really strange, because just because people are inting into you or handshaking fights that they shouldn't be shaking doesn't mean that you know what the hell you're doing. It just means that they don't, and you killed them. Like if someone ints into you in laning phase and dies, if they opt into a fight they can't win, you kill them and then you push and get the turret. You didn't get the turret through your own actions. That reply to my reply was really strange.
Yep. I saw a take from a lot of people where they're like, "Oh, but 100 Thieves has ended games," but that's not what ending a game really is. To me, what ending a game is you set things up where you force the enemy into like you use your advantage to like leverage vision, leverage your ability to start Baron, leverage your ability to pick people, and you put the enemy in a position where they have to pick like the lesser of two evils, and then whichever one they pick, you punish it, and you punish it to the degree that you not only to get a kill, you win the objective, or you win the objective for free, and then you're able to just like consistently push your advantage throughout without the enemy team having a good response, and you force the enemy team into an error. One of the biggest things that I've seen in the entirety of this LCS split is the amount of unforced errors is insane compared to like any other region that I've watched. Even like I watched LCK, I've watched LEC, I've watched LPL. There's not even close to the amount of unforced errors. And there's like games where you'll literally see like 10 unforced errors in a row, and people will like make it into it's an exciting game. Like I wanted to lose my mind when I watched that IMT versus TSM game, the one that turned out to be a backdoor, where literally I watched from 24 minutes to like 35, and the only action that happened was people getting caught. Time after time after time. Lost gets caught. Well, then somebody tries to like push based off that. So even though there is action and people are starting to trade, the catalyst to all the action is an unforced error, which isn't something that like gives me confidence that people know what they're doing, because what happens if that just does not happen? What happens if Lost has an idea of how far he can push up mid wave with Senatom Kench? What happens if that happens? Well, then I don't know. I don't know if IMT knows how to make a comeback play. I don't know if they're able to punish like the fact that the Jace is split pushing and no one can match him. Like I don't know. These are a bunch of question marks, and it just makes me feel like the answer is probably no. I feel like you don't learn these things when people are making unforced errors, and when TL didn't make unforced errors. I mean, they still ended up making some unforced errors, but when they weren't making unforced errors versus 100 Thieves was like, I guess we start Baron. Can we look to turn? Oh, we can't turn. They're not into us. Well, I guess we go back, and suddenly it's a 45-minute game.
Yeah, I would say you both are chess connoisseurs. You can't just checkmate the opponent right away. That's why check is there. When you check an opponent, it forces them into one of those bad trades to eventually checkmate them and end the game. And we don't have teams that know how to do that well yet. But I think the focus is on there for some of these teams. I think not everyone. Some teams are just happy to get wins here. I did want to focus on one other game that, since we already hit the Team Liquid 100 Thieves one, that happened. We got to see what happens when TSM is bad and win. Earlier in the week on Friday, we got to see what happened when TSM is not as dominant and they get punished as Dignitas. They go 2-1 this week they get a surprising win against TSM. I'd say that's surprising. Defeat Golden Guardians and then drop one to Immortals, who is their main competition in the playoff race. There, but in that game, Caden with the big Baron steal, Spica goes 0-3, Power of Evil on the LeBlanc, couldn't find anyone to really blow up there. What did you make of this matchup here? Or is this just another NA dig Baron, y'all?
I mean, I thought the matchup, I thought everything was pretty weird. I mean, this was one of the more, the dishonest team compositions that we also could have seen out of TSM. I first person viewed the entire thing from Spica's perspective. I just did a pure EDU jungle POV. And what it's like watching is it's like watching someone being put in a glass casket without any air holes and then being lowered into the ground and then alive. I mean that was basically what it was like. So you're not only picking jungle Lee Sin on the modern patch, so he's going to have inherently less damage because he also gets no points in E. His clears are slower. He's a champion that requires base levels. He's a champion that requires items, which is the whole fucking point for putting him in top. The only time you pivot him into jungle is when you get a massive lead inside of an individual lane. That's the only time you pivot him. TSM obviously can't think this far. So anyways, they just have a random miscellaneous uber sinful comp. If they don't get massively ahead in like 10 minutes of the game, everything's just doomed. Now you could argue that they have, they have a winning top lane, right? But then you have to define winning. They have a winning mid lane, but again, define winning. Because winning in this context is not just winning in a CS lead or a little bit of EXP. That shouldn't be what your goal is, because you're always just going to get completely face rolled in team fights. Because the enemy team has more base value on their champions. They make use of gold better. So I thought it was just pretty doomed. I think that maybe 7 or 8 minutes into the preview, I just thought the game was over. Watching it from Spica's perspective, I think is very eye-opening because it shows how there's basically actually very little he could have done without coin flipping super big and then requiring Dignitas to blunder massively in order to get anything going. But then the post-game threads are flaming him.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think
I'm gonna pass it back over to Dom.
Yeah, I think that when you watch this game, because I was watching the first-person perspective, and it's really obvious to me that they're not, like... Spica and the rest of his team are, for some reason, not in sync with, like, when he's actually going to arrive to their lane. Like, so, for example, this game, he started bot side, right? And he's doing a 4-camp clear to get to top side. Like, he is doing 4 camps. He's doing blue, Gromp, Wolves, red, and then he's going top, which means that he's going to be top around like 2:30 to 2:45, something like that, right? Or probably like 2:45 to like 3 minutes, something like that, right? So he's going to be there at that timing. So if that's the communication, then Huni can't play aggressively into like when the enemy is a Xin Zhao jungle, knowing that the Xin can be there at 1 camp early. The Xin can be there 15 seconds before Spica. So during that 15-second window, he has to play safe. He can't be trading in a way where the Xin is able to kill him. But he didn't have a ward. Like, the Xin just walks behind him, gets a free kill, and then, like, his whole lane is doomed. And not only does that screw him over, it screws over Spica, because now Spica can't even contest that top crab because he doesn't have prio top lane anymore. And then like the whole situation just ends up weird. I think another thing is when you look at like these comps. So number one, I think that the way that you try to abuse this type of draft, or like when you're playing this type of draft, is I don't even think you play towards topside at all. Like, I'm not sure if it's Huni saying, hey, I need you here on this wave, or like, oh, they're going to dive me on this wave, which is reasonable. Maybe your first clear has to go top if you think that there's no way for you to control the wave. In my opinion, in the Gnar Renekton matchup, you should have enough ability to trade early as the Gnar to prevent the Renekton from stacking a wave into diving you, because you have range advantage, like level 1, etc. And Renekton's not really a champion until level 3. So you should be able, if you're a top tier Gnar, to at least minimize the chance of them diving, or make it a situation where even if you die, even if you get dove and you die, it's not the end of the game. Like, you're completely fine. Like, you trim the wave, you trade with the enemy top laner, so they're low going for it. You can potentially get a 1-for-1. I've seen people play these types of lanes without jungle help, and that was to like junglers that were better at like burst diving than a Xin Zhao. When you look at this draft, it's like Spiga wants to be able to gank mid with LeBlanc, Lee Sin. I mean, if you're playing LeBlanc into a lane and you're never ganking the lane, the pick is just not as good. You might as well pick something else. And then like the ability for them to snowball with the Kalista Nautilus doesn't really seem there. Like you even saw it in the C9 game. It was the same type of thing. They had a Kalista lane, and they weren't like, the Kalista lane just won by default because of what happened level 1, but it didn't feel like they were actually able to snowball the game with Kalista. And it just feels like when you look at TSM's like drafts, if they have like a troll mage mid, relatively stable top laner, and then they have like a bot lane that scales easily as well, then they win versus most NA teams. When they play drafts like this, I don't have much confidence. And I think if they play against better teams, like let's say C9 improves, 100 Thieves, like these types of matches, if they play these types of drafts, I think they'll be just significantly worse, and they won't really win with them.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate you all breaking down the draft itself, and then how, even though it is a suboptimal draft with the Lee Sin moving on in down to the jungle side, how it should have played out, and the repercussions of Huni falling behind. So that again, a lot of people don't see it, but they just want to flame Spica for not helping out his laners when his laners aren't helping him out early on, and he's playing catch up for the rest of the game. All right. Those are the matches that we broke down. If we take a look at the current records and the winning streaks that they're on. 100 Thieves on an 8-game winning streak. TSM, after dropping that first game to Dignitas, they improved to 11-4 on a 2-game streak. And Evil Geniuses, 5 games in a row here. Evil Geniuses taking victories here. I kind of wanted to take a look at the specific playoff matchups, right? The 1-2 are the ones that get the bye. 3-4 are the ones that get side selection in their, I guess, also the winner side bracket that don't get the movements down. And then scrolling down on the bottom with the CLG, FlyQuest, Golden Guardian. So we just have like fights at different parts of the bracket here. When you take a look at it, who do you feel like is on the ascendancy here? Do you feel like it's clear-cut 100 Thieves is our best team, with TSM just on a good day could take them? And how bad do you think the skid is for Cloud9 right now, sitting at 8-7, the same record as Team Liquid?
I mean, I think that C9 will improve over the course of the split. Now, I mean, they, like, if you heard the Perks interview, right? Like they didn't scrim with Sven at all before the season. They just were scrimming with King, and then they just recently started scrimming with Sven. Up until these games, they had 6 scrim days, because you got to remember, LCS teams scrim 3 days a week, right? So there's 3 days a week, 3 days of games, then 1 off day. So if they've been playing with Sven for 2 weeks, that means they've literally got 6 scrim days with Sven the entire split. I feel like overall, like 100 Thieves look like the best team, but would I say that they're like guaranteed to win? No, I feel like if any team actually gets better from here, any of these teams could win. Honestly, the team that I think has been impressing me the most recently has been EG. I feel like EG actually has gotten better, and they've started like learning how to do things that they weren't doing before. Specifically, their turret dives early game, I think, are the best in the league. They're one of the only teams that syncs their junglers clear with mid lane prio to go dive a side lane, which is a very, very valuable play to be able to execute if given the opportunity. And teams don't punish that in NA. So like the response would be, if you end up doing this, like you do a 3-man dive on top, well, then like the enemy mid and jungle, even if they don't have tempo, have the ability to do the same thing to bot lane, right? So you stack a wave and then you do the same thing bot, and then potentially you answer more kills because there's 2 players bot than you do in the top dive. Like, but I don't see other teams doing that. It feels like another team, like if a team 3-man dives at 315, it's like, wow, nice play, guys. Like, well played. And then the other team just does nothing. They're like, okay, well, I'm pushing the wave and resetting, and the top laner just TP's back and whatever. But I actually feel like this team has made improvements. I mean, Jizuke is still like a monster in so many times throughout the game. Like that Lee Sin game, he died like maybe like 5 times more than he has to. And what's so weird is he played the hardest part of the game the best. Like his team griefed him. LeBlanc got free kills because he was behind from the top dive, like because of like the bot dive there, because of the fact that he ended up going for that bot dive, he was like half a level down. He's also in a matchup that's not inherently good for Lee Sin into LeBlanc. And his team just gave LeBlanc a bunch of free kills. But then he was able to actually hide in a brush, get a nice kill onto LeBlanc, get the shutdown gold, and he was completely fine after that. It was started a winning fight for his team, and then he ran it down like 5 or 6 times in a row after that. So it's like, I don't actually think this team is good based on how they played the mid to late game, but at least they've gotten better at early game, which is a lot more like, I don't see TSM executing those dives. Like, I don't see them doing it. I mean, when they try to do it, it looks like a horror show because they don't calculate all the things that need to be calculated when you go into it. So, for example, I mean, the thing that we see in TSM Legends is when they lost to FlyQuest earlier this season, where they just, before FlyQuest lost like 10 games in a row, right? Where they go for the dive, but they're not even thinking about if mid can TP or not. And then, you know, then they just die 2 for 1 and the whole dive is botched and the game is over. Like, I don't know. I just don't think other teams have this in their arsenal right now.
Have you seen the same stuff there, LS? Or any other team that is close to having an example of that?
I mean, I think in general the top 3. Well, one of the things we haven't said it right. Alfari needs to come back for TL.
Oh, absolutely.
We didn't get to that point yet. So until that happens, we're just going to talk about it as the top 3 rather than the elite 4. But yeah, I mean, Cloud9, like what Dom said, you only get 5 games of scrims on each day. You get 15 games a week. It's NA, so you know you can't even really duo anymore. So there's a lot of stuff, right? Practice frequency. Now it doesn't mean that you can only play 5 games in a day, right? You could probably do more, but they're likely not doing it. So I mean that doesn't really matter. It's just the way that NA scrim schedule actually goes right now. 100 Thieves, they seem to be the most in line with like a mutual idea of what they want to do, and so I think that unification is really helping them out against teams where, you know, the insight, when you look at like Cloud9 Brain Check, you look at TSM Legends, you look at some of the behind the scenes stuff, and then obviously Team Liquid and Turmoil. It just seems like that harmonious identity that 100 Thieves seems to have with each other. It's akin to Dignitas' spring run. And with TSM and Cloud9 having players of wavering opinions or viewpoints on the game, you know, being present on the team, the personalities aren't aligned, and I think that also aids in 100 Thieves' current boost in success compared to the others. And we already talked about CLG. CLG are the not very bright. They're like the not very bright team that just shows up with predetermined things, pre-cooked. They are the store brand soda. Okay, they show up with that. That's pretty much what's going on there.
Good.
And then FlyQuest is yeah. I mean, I'm not really. They're getting, you know, deforestation. It's a pretty big deal.
No,
So
they're like the vegan soda that just
recycling,
tastes
dude.
fucking terrible. Like they're the vegan soda of LCS.
yeah, I mean,
wanna look up
Immortals is trying to do its best. I don't think it's impossible for a team like Immortals with its roster to actually break top 5. I don't think it's possible. Or I don't think it's impossible. I'm sorry. I don't think it's impossible. I don't even think it's impossible to break top 4 in a really weird turn of events, depending on like just how things can go in LCS. And Dignitas, I think their recent 2 wins is surprising. But yeah, it's like you could separate this into a couple of brackets, right? It's the top 3, then it's Team Liquid in its own tier, then it's EG, and then it's like Dig Immortals, and then it's, you know, the rest. That's pretty much it. And also, I find it really interesting that it looks like the bottom 3 is like choosing Squirtle, Bulbasaur, or Charmander. So, you know,
I would say Squirtle, Bulbasaur and Pikachu, right? Because
You know, I mean, maybe Charmander. Maybe he's trying to do something to himself with that sword. I don't know. Like,
okay, holy moly.
maybe he's had enough.
Have you noticed that every single LS analogy on LCS is just always about death? It's like being lowered into a casket. It's like you're getting suffocated for like 3 minutes straight, and then you get one breath of air, and then you continue getting suffocated, and you just have to watch yourself like slowly die. It's like, what the fuck, man? Like, Jesus, it's video games. Like, what the fuck? Holy.
I'm glad I wasn't the only one that picked up on that one. Let's see. Okay, well, I think that is basically everything that we hit this week, chat. Did we miss anything else, chat? I don't think we did. I guess the only other thing is I'm waiting for Soligo to come back, man. He's been in the hyperbolic time chamber of Academy enough. Yusui, you know, but swap him back on in, man. Give him another opportunity.
I feel like Golden Guardians roster swap was the same thing as the Soligo swap, where it's like your team is doing better than they should be right now. Just don't change it. Don't fuck anything up. Just see where it stops. See what the ceiling is, and like see like where you settle down after you get like through this like new player honeymoon phase, and then make a decision after that. You don't need to fucking react instantly. Your team is winning. You're one game behind playoffs. You're literally one game out of playoffs when you were 3-15 coming in. Just chill for 1 second. Let this shit play out, and then make a decision when you have some more information about what is going to happen later on.
Right.
I know the last thing I wanted to brush on before we close up shop here. Solo, right? Because I think we hit it pretty hard for Dardoch when he got moved, and then they ended up he ended up signing with, I think, a European talent agency. What do we think the next is for Solo here, as he is currently still on the roster for Golden Guardians and can be substituted in, but they also have Licorice and Niles. What's the next play here for Solo, who has, you know, again, boosted a team that wasn't looking great?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like he's just waiting for one of these teams to have an issue with their top laner, and he can step in and make the team immediately better. Like, if Dignitas starts having Fake God run it down every game, it's like, join a team like that, you know, where like the team is like decent, not great, but like with a stable top laner could be at least okay. Like, I feel like that's what he's hoping for, is one of these top laners to start underperforming and then being able to like fill in, because I feel like his level is always pretty stable when he comes into LCS. I never feel like he comes into LCS and he looks like shit.
All right, there we have it. I think that's all the news that we had for this week. So everyone, thank you for tuning on in. Best of luck to all the changes. Best of luck to the FlyQuest youngins to get their opportunity and show off what they've got. I guess Licorice onto a brand new squad, onto greener pastures. Kumo getting his shot as well. I think those were all the roster moves that we had. LS, what do you have this week?
This week I just have LCK co-streams, hospital visits. The action video just came out. It was the first time Riot ever let me see a champion prior to release, so that was really cool. I'm hoping that I can see the Yordle too. So that's nice. That video just came out. Patch notes came out. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Sweet. Dom?
Oh, well, making my casting debut for LPL on Sunday.
Oh, yeah! All right, LS, what tips do we have here for Dom?
I was going to ask LS. I've been asking for tips. I got some tips, you know. Kagel said try to be right more than 1% of the time, so I'm going to attempt that. But
nice one, Kagel.
Yeah. I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, in the same regard, I would say, you know, don't be willing to flip flop every other day, you know, on your takes. That might be
okay, all right.
Don't literally use the stats as the premise of your argument, and then in the clip, not even, you know, a month later, claim that you're not a stats person. So,
okay,
you know, that one's interesting for me. You know, saying that the context of the games matters. That one's weird. It's weird, right? When we wait.
So death analogies on broadcast, LS. Like,
it's fine. It's fine. Look, you know, it's totally fine. No, I think for casting, I mean, I don't know. You've casted before. Like, diaphragm speaking's really good. I don't know. I always try to think of it as you're there to educate, right? It's not your own brand. So like curse words, derogatory words, inflammatory words, not great, but I think hyperbole is great because people want an opinion, right? That's the thing that's missing most in broadcasts nowadays. People want an opinion because it's the only thing that makes you stick. You can't be neutral. You can't be neutral, whether it's one way or the other, I think. Even though I think that originally that was the idea of casting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are afraid of.
You can be neutral in the sense that you don't care who wins, like either team. But one of the things I like doing is I always like angling it from who has the autonomy within the game. So like, for instance, if the scaling team has an advantage and they're ahead in the game, everything is viewed through their lens because it's their game to drop.
Yep.
There we go. Well,
Makes sense. I'll try to
Wonderful.
do my best color casting impression.
Excellent.
Yeah. Again, that is a July 11th for the Suning versus Top Esports and WE versus JDG. Make sure you guys wreck your sleep schedule and support Dom and Munchables, who is one of the finest co-casters in the space. Munch is a fucking pro, and
He's gonna carry me.
gets it.
I already know he's gonna carry me. He just get like. I feel like if I ever have some point or he knows that I'm like having an issue, I feel like he'll be able to reset it. Also, he's like a calm guy, you know? I feel like that's something that just makes you feel like he is that you know how we always talk about how LS is like always in panic mode. He's like always on the verge of panic mode.
Never.
Munch is the opposite of that. Munch is the opposite. But I respect the panic mode. I'm more on the panic mode side myself, to be honest.
I'd say both of you guys are. I am too,
we're
but
just
I have to
panickers.
fake it because someone needs to be the stabilizing force. This week I have I'm actually interviewing two of the new FlyQuest guys, so it'll be NXI and Triple. That'll come out, I think, tomorrow morning. I had a sit-down interview over at the Immortals facility with Coach Gilhoto. He gave some spicy thoughts on the region, his team, and then I'll be doing some post-game coverage as per usual. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. You can watch the VOD over on the YouTube channel over at VENN Esports. We appreciate all of you and we'll be back for another episode of Facecheck on week 6. See ya.
Hey, thanks for watching VENN Esports. Make sure to hit that subscribe button below and explore our other videos. In fact, click on the ones on the screen right now. Otherwise, I'll get you.